Well, hey everybody, this is Mr. John and this is our midweek review. You guys probably remember Caleb, my friend that I had on quite a few weeks back, but he's going to join me again today for this lesson. And how you doing, Caleb?
Pretty good.
Pretty good, man. I'm glad to hear that. Hey, have you ever been told that you were not the person for the job? And how did you take it? That kind of is what we're going to be talking about today. In our lesson today, David has remember last week we talked about David getting the Ark of the Covenant back into his village and him just celebrating, dancing, dancing like nobody was watching, getting jiggy with it and all that. He just went crazy because he got God back into his town. And he was super hyped about this. Well, David also wanted to do something to really enhance the Ark of the Covenant and do something. He wanted to build a temple to put the Ark of the Covenant in. So he kind of comes up with this idea and he plans and he draws up blueprints, and then all of a sudden he's told by God that this job was not meant for him. That he was not going to be the person to build the temple. Now, God did tell David that he was a great person of God, a great man of God, and that he was a great warrior and he was a great king, but he was not the person to build the temple. He was going to leave that for, guess who? His son. David's son Solomon would be the one to build the temple. Now, David, you think David got mad about that?
No.
No, David did not get upset about that. He did not get mad. What David did is what I think we should do when we may not be just right for a job. We help set up the person for success. David decided, okay, it's still going to be a bit before Solomon, my son, gets old enough to build a temple, becomes king himself, and builds a temple. So what David did was start getting the supplies and the people in place that were needed to build a great temple. David went and brought in gold and silver and linens and everything else that Solomon would need to build this. He set Solomon up for success. Now, when I was growing up, I played on a lot of different sports teams. And you guys, I've talked about sports a lot on here. And I played certain positions. Now, I was kind of a pitcher and liked to do that. One position that I really wanted to play for the longest time was catcher. I thought it would be cool to put on all that gear and get behind the plate and catch. Here's the thing about catchers. I am not a very good person to play catcher because when the ball comes and a guy swings the bat, I do something a catcher shouldn't do. I blink like every time. I flinch and I blink, losing sight of the ball. So my coach told me that I was not a right person to be a catcher. So I didn't play catcher, but I was a pitcher. And one of the people I worked with a lot were the catchers. So I would sit there and help them to learn how to catch pass balls. And because I knew how a curveball would react when it hit the ground. Because a curveball, when it's spinning, hits the ground, it's actually going to bounce the other way, or it could kick. So you're telling the catcher to be prepared on whatever direction you think the ball is going, so he could block it. So I never got behind the plate to catch, but I was absolutely able to help set up catchers for success. So when we are told that we are not the right person for the job, guys, sometimes we're not. Sometimes we need to take that and accept that and know that God has a plan for us. Like, it was not David's job to build the temple, but David's job was actually to be a great king, a great warrior, and a great defender of Israel. And he did those jobs as a godly man, as a man under God's own heart. And he did all these things loving God. So when God tells us sometimes that, hey, you might not be the right person for the job, you need to accept that sometimes, even though it's hard, and take that in stride. So Caleb, you want to tell my friends goodbye? We're going to see them next week.
And we'll see you in a couple of days.
Have a great one. We'll talk to you next time. See you next week on This Week with Mr. John. Hey, check out the verses coming on. I hope you guys are learning this. Take it easy. Have a good one. And remember, we're not set up for every job, but we can do our best we can at the jobs we do. Hey, set your friends up for success. Talk to you later. Bye.
For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. Isaiah 55:8.